Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Trent and I appreciate you coming to watch this video. If you have been here before, I appreciate you coming back. I'm going to tackle a topic that's widely debated in the archery world, and it's kind of a hot topic here lately. I see a lot of questions about it and a lot of biased responses, and that question is, what is the best arrow weight for bow hunting? So to give you my no BS, no bias outlook on this, there's only one proper response. And that is, it entirely depends on the game you're hunting and the situation you're hunting in. Now, I don't believe there's such thing as too heavy of an arrow for bow hunting. I do, however, believe there is such thing as too light of an arrow. My cutoff is 450 grains. I feel like anything lighter than that is a trade of trajectory for penetration, or rather, you're trading penetration for trajectory, and I feel like it's a bad medicine. You know, I don't think it's a smart idea. I also feel like there's a very small amount of bow hunters overall that really need that 450 to like 500 grain arrow. And these are guys that are shooting out west, they're shooting longer distances at their game, and they're using rangefinders versus like a range-finding bow sight to check range and then get ready, that 3 to 4 second gap so that animal could be walking away or towards, and it's going to change, you know, point of impact. They need that flatter trajectory from that lighter end arrow to help compensate for those situations. If you don't fit in that category, I really feel like you should be heavier. A guy like me, for example, I like 500 to 550 grains. Now, some background on the way I hunt or my situation. I hunt whitetail in the Midwest. I'm hunting on public land where I can't trim any trails or shooting lanes. I'm hunting out of a tree saddle, so I'm elevated. And I find that 500 to 550 grain arrow fits me for two reasons. One of, if I'm being honest, one of those reasons is because I'm a little hung up on speed. I don't necessarily have to have the fastest bow, but I really like to be in that 270 feet a second range. And I find that arrow weight with the bows that I've owned and my draw length and my draw weight get me in that range. The second reason is sometimes we're shooting through gaps and we can't trim those lanes, we can't free up that shooting lane, so we're having to make our arrow fit through a gap with a branch here and a branch here. And that little flatter trajectory helps me kind of thread the needle and get to my game. Now, my scenario, I think, really fits a lot of bow hunters. And I feel like that's kind of the ideal range for your average bow hunter, because most bow hunters are whitetail hunters. Most guys are Midwest, Eastern states, in public land scenarios, just like I described. I feel like that's a good range. Now, let's say you're a private land bow hunter, and most of your shots are 30 yards and in, and you're able to trim lanes so you don't have to worry about obstructions. I feel like you should be 600 plus. I mean, even 650. Ashby did some studies and found that the heavy bone threshold is 650 grains for an arrow. And if you're able to hit that and don't have to worry about obstructions or anything of that nature, I feel like that's really where you should be. Now, I get it. There's going to be people screaming, well, you don't need 650 plus grains to kill a whitetail. You're absolutely right. You don't need 650 grains to kill a whitetail. I killed 3 last year very successfully with my arrows at 514-ish grains. But if you can build the arrow and you don't have anything else to overcome, why not just take one more thing out of the equation? You know, if I hit a shoulder with my arrow, I don't know really how it's going to perform. I would surmise it's going to perform well because it's a high FOC arrow, but that doesn't mean it will. But that 650 grain arrow is going to for sure perform really well on a shoulder. So again, you don't have to, but why not do it just in case? It's kind of the way I look at that, and that's why I say there's no such thing as too heavy of an arrow. If you're comfortable building 1,000 grains and want to shoot that, and you're shooting that 20 yards in a manicured situation, shoot it, rock it. No reason not to, right? What I really want to kind of send home when I'm talking about the subject is it is situational, and it's dependent upon your situation. You know, another prime example is the game you're pursuing. If you're a guy shooting whitetails in the Midwest, like me, that 500 grain arrow could be plenty. But if I'm going to go down south and I'm going to shoot a 200-pound boar hog, I'm going to want a heavier arrow. You know, those things are tough. They're tougher than whitetails. If I'm going to go out west and I'm going to shoot an elk, I'll probably opt for like a 550 grain arrow because they have a bigger kill area. So trajectory isn't as important. I'm shooting a range-finding bow sight, so it's easier for me to know the range. And that heavy arrow is going to penetrate better on that big animal. You know, so it's situational, man. You have to be aware of your situation and then build your arrows to fit that. I have 3 arrow builds with me. These are all things I built in the last year, and they are to fit different situations. I'll go through them with you real quick. So this is the arrow that I hunted with last year. It's a Victory Extreme Velocity. It's a 7.0 grain per inch arrow, and it's got 320 grains on the front. It's a 24% FOC arrow. Last year I wanted to build as light a weight arrow as possible, around 500 grains, with as high as FOC as possible. And this is what I came up with. Killed 3 deer last year, really successful. My furthest shot was 37 yards. My closest shot was 12. So, ton of success with this arrow. For Midwest whitetails, this is probably what I'll shoot. Matter of fact, if I were to go out west, this is probably what I'll shoot also. It's just a super good arrow build. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to Arizona at the end of this year. Mule deer, coos deer, javelina. This will be what I emulate when I go to do that. This is another arrow I built last year. This arrow I built, honestly, just playing around. Kind of wanted to play with it. I thought maybe I would need a 250 spine, which is what this is for my arrow. It is a Victory Rip TKO. It's 8.9 grains per inch at a 250 spine. So again, low GPI for a high FOC. It's got some iron will components, 125 grains in iron will components, and then it's going to have a 200 grain head. I'm actually going to shoot this for turkey this year out of my buddy's bow that I'm borrowing. Why? Because it's a 30-yard shot and in for my turkeys, and this is a 600 grain arrow. Trajectory is going to be a little rougher, especially because his bow is slower and it's 10 pounds lighter than mine, but it's 30 yards and in on turkeys. Now, you might say, well, you don't need a 600 grain arrow for turkeys. Nope, I don't, but we go back to the thing I said earlier. I'm going to be hunting in a blind on a field edge with no obstructions. Might as well use what I can get away with for that trajectory and the short shots, right? Not to mention, a heavier arrow quiets your bow down significantly. So if I can quiet whatever I'm shooting at an animal down, why would you not? This last arrow I built for my recurve, and this arrow I approached a little differently. I actually built this arrow around my broadhead. I'm shooting a 265 grain, I've got some right here actually, 265 grain tough head. It's a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage ratio broadhead on my recurve, and the reason I'm doing that is for great penetration. This is another Victory. You'll notice a lot of my arrows are Victory, and it's because they have low GPI and heavy spines. But it's a Victory carbon trad 450 spine. It's the arrow that happened to work well with the weight I was putting up front. And I've got some, yeah, the fletchings and stuff don't really matter, but total arrow weight on this, 698 grains out of my recurve. Now why that heavy out of such a slow bow? Well, 2 reasons. My max effective yardage with a recurve, max effective yardage with a recurve is 15 yards. The trajectory doesn't matter, and neither does speed really. But one thing insanely important is noise, and that recurve is dang near silent with this heavy of an arrow. I mean, that's it. I built the arrow, or the arrow ended up being built for the scenario. Again, driving that home. Figure out your scenario, figure out the game you're pursuing, build your arrow around it. And that is the only right response to how heavy of an arrow should I build. You guys, if you like watching these videos, subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing it with your friends, that really helps build my channel, helps me grow. This is my dream. This is something I'm pursuing very, very heavily. And when you guys do that, it helps me, you know, realize that dream and meet goals to get me where I need to be. Of course, I'm always so appreciative if you take the time to watch the videos. It does mean so much to me, and if you do those things to help me out, it means a ton also. In the description, you'll find affiliate links to the arrows I mentioned in the video. Affiliate link just means if you click on it and buy, I get a small commission. It costs you absolutely nothing extra, but again, it's just another way you can help this channel grow. That covers everything. I don't think I have anything else really to say on the subject. As always, guys, I appreciate you watching. I will catch you on the next video. Peace.